The rain had just started to fall when the veteran's truck slowed to a stop in front of the gray concrete building, the kind of rain that felt cold and heavy, like it carried memories with it. His hands tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles pale, heart beating in a rhythm he recognized too well from his years in uniform. Beside him, his old service dog lifted its head, ears alert, sensing something was wrong before any human could name it. This was supposed to be a good day. This was supposed to be the day he finally brought his disabled daughter home. But the moment he stepped inside those doors, the air itself felt wrong, and what he witnessed there would freeze him in terror in a way no battlefield ever had. Before the story goes further, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in standing up for those who cannot stand for themselves, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. The veteran had survived things most people only saw in movies. Years of service had carved deep lines into his face and left his body carrying pain that never fully went away. But the hardest battle of his life had not been fought overseas. It had begun the day his wife passed away unexpectedly, leaving him alone to raise their daughter, a bright-eyed little girl whose laughter once filled every corner of their home. A childhood illness had changed everything, leaving her disabled and requiring care he struggled to manage on his own while working long hours just to keep food on the table. When doctors and social workers convinced him that a specialized care facility could give her better support while he stabilized his life, it felt like surrender. Handing her over that day had felt like betrayal, even though he told himself it was temporary. Months turned into years faster than he ever expected. Every visit left him with a knot in his chest. The facility always looked clean on the surface, the staff polite enough, the paperwork reassuring. Still, something never sat right with him. His daughter's smile had faded, her eyes losing some of their light each time he came. She clung to his arm longer than before, her body tense, as if she feared letting go meant disappearing again. He complained more than once, but every concern was brushed aside with professional language and promises that everything was normal. He wanted to believe them, because believing them meant he wasn't failing as a father. The decision to bring her home came after one visit, where she barely reacted to his arrival. She looked past him, flinched at sudden sounds, and trembled when a staff member entered the room. That night, the veteran didn't sleep. Memories of comrades he couldn't save haunted him, and he realized with crushing clarity that he could not leave his daughter there another day. He filed the paperwork, arranged time off, and prepared his small house to be wheelchair accessible. And on that rainy morning, with his loyal dog by his side, he came to bring her home for good. The dog had been with him through nearly everything. Trained, disciplined, and deeply bonded, the animal had saved his life more than once. Even in civilian life, the dog stayed close, sensing panic attacks before they surfaced and grounding him when memories threatened to overwhelm. As they walked toward the entrance, the dog slowed, muscles tense, nose twitching. The veteran noticed but brushed it off, telling himself it was just the unfamiliar smells. Still, a chill crept up his spine. Inside, the lobby was quiet, too quiet. The fluorescent lights hummed faintly, casting a sterile glow that made everything feel unreal. The receptionist barely looked up as he announced himself, her smile tight and rehearsed. He waited longer than expected, the seconds stretching painfully. His dog refused to sit, eyes fixed down the hallway leading deeper into the facility. When a staff member finally came to escort him, there was something hurried in her movements, something nervous. As they walked, the veteran noticed small things that made his stomach twist. Doors partially closed, muffled sounds behind them, a faint smell that reminded him of neglect rather than cleanliness. The dog let out a low growl, barely audible, a sound the veteran hadn't heard since combat. His heart began to race. He asked where his daughter was, and the staff member gave a vague answer, saying she would be brought shortly. But instead of heading toward the common areas he remembered, they turned down a quieter corridor, dimmer, colder. The moment they reached the room, time seemed to slow. The door was unlocked, but the staff member hesitated before opening it. When she finally did, the veteran felt his chest seize as if a fist had wrapped around his heart. The room was nothing like the bright, cheerful space he'd been shown before. The curtains were drawn, the air stale. His daughter lay in her bed, thinner than he remembered, her face pale, eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. Marks on her arms and wrists told a story no parent should ever have to read. He couldn't move, his body locked up, the way it did under heavy fire, when shock stole all motion. His dog bolted forward, whining softly, pressing its head against the bed, tail low, protective. The daughter turned her head slowly, recognition dawning in her eyes, and in that moment the veteran saw fear there, raw and unmistakable. Fear of the place she was in, fear of the people who were supposed to care for her, fear that he might leave her again. The staff member started talking, explaining things in rushed, clinical terms, but the words blurred together. The veteran dropped to his knees beside the bed, taking his daughter's fragile hand, feeling how cold it was. Rage rose inside him like a wildfire, not the explosive kind, but the dangerous, focused kind he knew well. He scanned the room, noting restraints poorly hidden, medication bottles that didn't belong, bruises that couldn't be explained away by accidents. This was not care. This was cruelty disguised as professionalism. In that moment, everything he had ever fought for narrowed down to one purpose: protect his child. He demanded answers, his voice shaking but steady. Other staff members gathered, tension thick in the air. The dog positioned itself between the bed and the door, silent now, watchful, a living shield. The veteran knew he couldn't handle this alone. He stepped outside, made the call that would change everything, and waited, never leaving his daughter's side again. Authorities arrived faster than he expected. Perhaps it was the tone in his voice, or perhaps fate finally decided to intervene. What followed was chaos. Rooms were searched. Other residents were examined. Whispers turned into accusations, and accusations into arrests. The truth spilled out slowly but devastatingly. Understaffing, abuse, neglect, corners cut for profit, all hidden behind carefully curated reports. His daughter was not the only victim, but she was the one who brought the darkness into the light. As the hours passed, the veteran sat beside his daughter, talking softly, telling her stories from when she was little, reminding her of home. The dog never left her side, its presence a steady comfort. Slowly, her breathing eased. Slowly, the fear in her eyes softened. When they finally wheeled her out of the building, wrapped in blankets, the rain had stopped. The sky was clearing, a pale light breaking through the clouds, as if the world itself was offering an apology. Bringing her home was not the end of the struggle. Healing never is. There were doctor visits, therapy sessions, nights filled with tears and guilt that threatened to crush him. He blamed himself for not seeing the signs sooner, for trusting a system that failed his child. But each day he chose to turn that guilt into action. He learned how to care for her needs, how to adapt their home, how to be patient when progress was slow. He relearned how to be a father in ways he never expected. The dog became an anchor for them both, a constant presence during difficult moments. When his daughter had nightmares, the dog lay beside her bed. When the veteran felt the weight of the past pressing down on him, the dog nudged his hand, grounding him in the present. Together, the three of them formed a quiet, resilient unit, healing not perfectly, but honestly. The case against the facility made headlines for a while, then faded as news cycles moved on. But for the families affected, the impact was permanent. The veteran spoke out, even when it was painful, even when his voice shook. He did it for his daughter, and for those who couldn't speak for themselves. He learned that courage wasn't just about facing enemy fire. Sometimes it was about standing in a quiet room and refusing to look away from the truth. Years later, when his daughter smiled again with something close to her old light, he knew they had come a long way. Scars remained, both visible and hidden, but they no longer defined her entire world. On calm afternoons, they sat together on the porch, sunlight warming their faces, the dog at their feet. In those moments, peace felt possible. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive and reminds the world that compassion still matters. And before the ending, I have one special request. Please comment below with the words, "Protect the innocent." If you believe every child deserves safety, dignity, and love. Your words matter more than you know. The veteran often thought back to that rainy morning, to the moment he froze in terror at what he saw. He realized now that terror had not been the end of his strength, but the beginning of a deeper courage. One born not of training or orders, but of love. And that love, unwavering and fierce, became the force that carried them forward, proving that even after the darkest moments, healing is possible when someone refuses to give up.